Okay, so welcome back. Presumably you're here from my last video where I had to stop because my computer battery was dying. So we need to finish up we were working on putting a footer component in these pages. So we only had one left. You can see they're all here. The Go Home and Created by Alex Nielsen is the footer, right? So you look at the footer. Here's the link to Home, created by Alex Nielsen. So that's this part, right? So the one we were missing that we didn't wrap up was put it on the schedule page. So we'll just do that. Show you that in case we forgot what's going on here. So first we need to import it. Import footer from, this is in the pages, so we need to go up out of the pages directory into the components and grab the footer. This is going much smoother than the last video. You may have noticed, different computer. I'm at home now. It's just a much faster, better computer, so hopefully the rest of this will be better than it was in the first video. So now we have it imported and we can use it in the page. And when we hit save, it should show up. Hit save, and wrong button, hit save, compiling. There it is. Okay. Alright, let's see. So, what's next? Moving on to the next slide. Layout component. Okay. Since pretty much all our pages will have the header and the footer, we can do this in a better way. We can have a layout component where everything, the header and the footer, will all be included in one component. Instead of having to put that on every page, having to go in and put a header, have to put a footer, we'll just make a layout component and use that on every page. The layout will contain the header and footer themselves. And then we just pass the content into each page individually. So, as it says, create a layout.js and components. So, new file, a layout. This is going to be a component 2, so I can let's get rid of this stuff here. Hold on. Then we get them all selected, call it layout, that's the name of our new component. And we actually will want these to keep these header and footer here, right? Because that's what's going to be on every page. So we're going to want a excuse me, div. Yeah, again, somebody tell me how to get the Emmet working on Code Sandbox, please. And then let's see. Import header. Okay. Header is going to go here. Footer is going to go here. Let's say we want to have some sort of content in here. Right, so let's see, where can we include this just to show what's going on here? If we say in the index, so we won't need these anymore because they're going to be included in the layout. So then we won't need these anymore. We will need to do layout. Now it's not a self-closing anymore because we have this. And so we're going to say P. This is the index page. Now let's hit save. What's going to happen? Go to home. Did it compile successfully? But where did the content go? This is the index page, right? Content. What's this about? So why is this? This is the index page. Layout. Content. It's getting it from here. We were hoping for it to come from here, right? So the reason that is because we're putting. We want this is a child of the layout component, right? So this is. Think of it as like they're objects, right? The div is like an object with a nested object called layout, and then we want the child, so it's the child, right? And so we want the child of this. So what you do is say, instead of, well, here it's saying content because that's what's hard coded, but we want to make it dynamic. So what you do is you say, well, first you just have to pass props into it, right? And then you say children is C of that, and changes it. This is the index page. So now, whenever we use this layout component, it's going to give us the header and the footer and whatever's inside of layout, right? So if I add something else in here, another paragraph, hit save, that'll be in there too. Yep, there it goes. Okay, so we can get rid of that. Pass the content components as props, and then use props.children. If you want to get fancy, we can say, and we do, because why not? We can destructure this from props. We can say from the props. How do we do destructuring, right? Whoops. So you're gonna say children, and then here we can get rid of. And it should. Oh, I did it wrong. Unexpected token 5. Oh, because it's still, this needs to be inside of a parentheses, maybe. There you go. Okay, so I'm not going to get into structuring objects, but just understand that the props is an object, and so we're destructuring the children from the props. There's a million YouTube videos about destructuring, so it's an ES6 thing. It's just makes it a shorthand, so you can just say children down here. It's exactly the same as if you said props here and then props.children here. Okay. Just a little more concise this way. Okay, so that's fine. So the exercise here is use layout on all the pages instead of header and footer. Okay, so let's do that. So how do we do it here? Index. Here's how it's done. You have to import it, right? And then you put it here. It's not a self-closing tag because it's always going to have something inside of it. Okay, so take a moment, pause the video, and use the layout on the rest of these pages. We have it on index. You're going to want it on these other 3 pages. Okay, take a moment and do that, and we'll be back. Okay, here we go. I'm going to do it with you. So about.js. Instead of the header and footer, this is going to be layout, and this is going to be /layout, and then we're going to get rid of these. Instead, we're going to import layout from components, out of the pages, into the components, and into the layout. So which one is this? This is the about. So this should still work over here, compiled. Yeah, no problem. Okay, let's do the same thing to contact. This one gets a slash. Layout, hit save. Which one are we in? Contact. That should still work, hopefully. Looks like it works. Schedule one more time. Layout from layout. This and this. If you want to know how to do that multiple cursor here on a PC, it's you hold the Alt button. I think it's Command on Mac. So you get multiple cursors, then you can do two things at once, or more than two if you keep selecting. Here, save that, and this was the schedule page, so it should still work. Okay, so that's that layout. Okay, add some styling. I think in the terms of time, we're going to need to do is skip this styling. Not that it's not important, but I only have a certain amount of time for the presentation. So I'm going to skip that moduling. So let's go into this. This is really the more powerful thing about Gatsby anyway. Because the styling is really just a React thing, right? There's ways to style pages in React, and that might be a whole separate thing. So let's hop right into this. One thing that makes Gatsby powerful is how it manipulates data. It uses GraphQL to source its data. Okay, so it also uses plugins that people have written, or the Gatsby team or other people, depending on the plugin, have written to help source data. So we're just going to start out with the most basic one. It's just a site metadata. Okay, so let's take. I gave you a link here, right? Oops, let's go back. Gatsby docs, Gatsby config. Let's see. Okay, site metadata. You don't need to know where I am. Gatsby, what is that for? Alright, site metadata. When you want to use reuse common pieces of data across the site. Site title, it's, for example, you can store the data in site metadata. So, let's just copy this exactly as it is, then we can mess with it. So this goes over here. We do not have a Gatsby config. Really? Okay, no, here it is. Gatsby config. If for some reason you don't have, I think in the Hello World starter, it didn't have Gatsby config. You had to create it yourself, but I think the latest version that I looked at, it did come with it. What is, if it's not there in the root directory, you may just have to create a new file called Gatsby config, because even by default here, there's nothing in here, right? It's an empty object right now. So we're going to replace it with what we just got off the docs page. Our title is not going to be Gatsby. Our site is going to be something like Alex's awesome Gatsby site. Let's say that it's, Nielsen.com, and description of the site. Great site or greatest site ever. Okay, and this could also be, so look, we're just creating an object here, right? Which we will export and then we'll have some access to. So just like other types of objects can be, we can put another object. We can say things that I like, things Alex likes, which can be an object. So food, Alex likes pizza. Who doesn't like pizza? Can be likes cats. Can be a boolean, right? It's just like any other object. Okay. Car. Anything that moves. I'm not a car guy. Okay. So let's see. How about my Twitter? Let's give that a string. Big Al's house. Okay, so now we hit save on that, and nothing's gonna happen here, and I'll tell you why. Because I think I mentioned before, maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Gatsby config, the stuff in Gatsby config gets run when the site first starts up. So if you have something in Gatsby config, you have to restart your server. So if you're doing it locally on your machine, you're gonna have to go to your command line where you did npm run develop. You have to stop the server and restart it when you anytime you make a change to Gatsby config. Here, I don't know how that'll work or not, so we'll find out. If nothing shows up here in a minute when I go to do this, we will know. But alright, so how do we access this information now? Okay, so here's schedule. So in when you're using this won't work when on a live site, but when you're in development, you can go to your local host, which if you're not doing this in Code Sandbox, this is going to be localhost 8000, right? Or this URL instead of this Code Sandbox IO, it's going to be localhost 8000. Use /triple_, 3 underscores, and then graph QL. And what's going to show up? Alright, so this is way too small for this window, so I'm going to open it up in another window. You're going to get to this thing called graphical, right? And what happens here is if you've used REST APIs, I mean, you've done some testing with Postman or Insomnia or one of these other type of tools that lets you do requests to your REST API. This is a similar kind of thing. So you can do, if you go over here, let's see, query. The great thing about GraphQL is because everything is defined, the way the schema is defined. When you open this up, it shows you what to expect there, right? So site we're looking for, it's going to be their site metadata is not here, okay? So that means that we are going to have to make this recompile. So how are we going to do that? Get to recompile. I hit save here and it didn't, so let me change something over here and see if it makes it recompile. No. Let's just do something silly of a change just so it actually resaves. Compiling. Load. site. So you can do it over here, right? You can do the query gives it to you this way. Looking for the site metadata, but it's not showing up. Alright, so how am I going to get this to get rid of this? Let's just try this again. Alright, I need to get this bad boy to restart somehow, to recompile. So what if I do, everything's saved, what if I just hit reload? Maybe that'll do it. Hope everything was saved, connected. It's going to take a minute to start up. 5 pages, hello world. Let's open a new window. Underscore, triple underscore, GraphQL. Is it here now? Site. Should be here. Is it under all site? No. I must be doing something wrong. Site metadata. Did I just call it the wrong thing? Site metadata. Actual.exports. So why would you not work? What's the matter here? Hot module reloading connected. It should be here. How can I make this restart? Query was not an reloading result for the page query. Page 404. Same thing. Can I make this go to restart? Bear with me here as I try to figure out why this won't do it. I need it to restart itself for real because it's trying to do the smart thing and only reload the little things that it absolutely needs to reload, but I need it to reload for real. Date, cache, pages, yada yada yada. Everything is saved here, right? So if what are some options over here? Configuration files. Restart the sandbox. Restart the server. That's probably what it is. Server control panel. Restarting the sandbox. Maybe that'll get us there. Like I say, if we're doing this in your local machine from your command line, you just stop the server and restart it. So presumably that's similar to what we're doing here. Let's taking its time, however. Container is starting. Alright, now, let's see what's there now. There it is. Okay, so that was the fix. I need to remember that for the lesson tomorrow night. Site metadata. There it is. And you can see we have our description. These are all the things that I created. Title, site URL, description, another object called likes, right? And so that's one way to look at it. There's that Explorer. The other way is through these sort of docs, as they call it. There it is. Shows you all things that are in there. All things are in there. I found this way to be very useful because it builds your query for you. You could do it this way where you actually type it yourself, and if you do Control Enter, it gives you the list of things that you can do. But so you build your query one way or the other, right? Either by clicking over here, automatically builds it for you. When you hit run, it brings back exactly the results of what the way you build your query here. So you can do just get everything if you want, but you just don't need to.